think we're up. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Tokyo, land of the invisible sky tree this morning. Actually, it's up there. Oh no, the camera's just washed out. It's there. Good morning, good morning. I think this is the first time for us with the camera switch, the new wide angle or wider angle camera outside. It's actually a sunny day. Interesting. It's a sunny day and it's a blue sky, but the camera can't handle the brightness. The sun is over in that area behind those trees there, so it'll get blue, I think, as we go by, as the sun moves out of the way. Good morning, good morning. How's the soreness? Somebody's saying. What's this? From swimming and stuff, you mean? No, it's okay. It's okay. We're fine. We're fine. Sound is low. I've put the mic in a different place. It's in front of me here. I can touch it. I can boost it a little bit. It's already boosted more than I've usually got it up, but there it is. Good morning, good morning. The problem the other day, I put the microphone on the microscope stand, and when I turn the microscope around, the mic is on the back side. So I've put it here where it's visible all the time. What's on the wall next to the dude in the window? What's on the wall next to the dude in the window? Well, there's the shop sign there. It says Ton-chan. That's the name of the restaurant there, with a little porky logo. Of course, it's a cutlet restaurant. Not quite sure what you're asking to. To our left, next building. The building to the left of it, the building with the yellow awning, it has a sign up at the top above the second floor showing an illustration of the kind of meat that they serve. If it's called meat, I don't know. It's a whale restaurant, of course, next to it. It's Takahashi is the name of the place. They're not actually too popular. It's at the entrance to Hoppidori, and people come in the evenings, and they don't usually stop at the first or second restaurant on a street like this. They want to browse. They want to walk up and down. So the restaurants at the corner, at the entrance, they actually don't have it as easy as you might think. The brown building to the left of the yellow building. There's a shiny thing between the second and the third floor. It's a sign. It's a picture. I can't zoom here without going outside. It's a picture of their specialty. It's a whale restaurant. There's 3 or 4 around here. There's the famous one in the other direction, which we normally see when the camera is on the left. It's a whale restaurant. You're in Asakusa. But honestly speaking, I think if we cut and moved ahead 5 years, 10 years, they will probably not be there, because they are really, really not many people, not many younger people have any taste for that anymore. So they are definitely on the way out. The government is scaling back their support campaigns. The international whaling has changed. You know, it's on the way out. All you got to do now is wait. People like Greenpeace and Sea Shepherd, they should just now hold their cards and fold and just keep quiet. The more the outside people yell at Japan for not doing this, the more the resistance will become stronger. Just let it die. Okay, let's have our stream. Carving, carving, carving. I know we've had lots of progress. Lots of progress. Let's show you where we've come. As you all know, the key block was finished some days ago. We proofed it, then took color separations from it. So the key block was done some days ago. I've still actually done some more touch-ups to it. The backside hasn't been used. Then there are going to be 4 pieces of wood with 8 color faces. And a bunch of them are now finished. You saw me doing some of this. I don't remember what you saw me cutting or what you didn't see me cutting, but anyway. The couple of blocks for the backgrounds in the bath area. These are blocks that will be used for gradations going down from the sky. This is the block. These will be used for blue, the water coming up from the bottom. Here's blue behind the carp. This will be for the white steam. We're coming bit by bit by bit. There's another block here. This will be for the blue gradation up on the background. There's the sun. We popped it in there. I'm keeping a couple of faces in reserve here to print these, we really don't want stuff nearby, but I'm keeping some unplanned faces in reserve. If it turns out that I'm short a color or something, or I have to do something, rather than grabbing a new piece of wood, I'm temporarily keeping some of these on the blocks. After the test printing's done and it seems that we're okay for them, I will come back and clear this out to make it easier for the printers. But there are, at the moment, temporary things still in place. This is one of those. Here's a temporary one. We probably won't need it. Then this is one of the faces where all the colors are all over. This is the brown block. You saw me carving this the other day. Just a second, let me get my camera set here. You saw me doing part of this the other day. The brown pattern, remember we had a negative and a positive pattern in there. This one, there's brown on all 12 prints. There's a touch of brown everywhere. The girls are terrified of this. This is the kind of block that they're terrified of. One little area they can do, a little area they can do. But something like this, where every print on the whole picture is all on one and the registration has to be perfect, this is the kind of one that they're terrified of. We'll see how it goes. So that's 4 faces out of the 8. Well, 9 if you count the key block. Then last night I pasted another one down and started carving it. We'll keep going now. And you haven't seen any pasting and peeling, so what we'll do is I've got the next one ready. And if we get to say before the show and tell time and I'm not finished this, give me a yell and we can pull one out here and do a paste and peel, because it's been a while since we've seen one. And something else to remind me about. I remembered we talked about the straight line carving with the ruler and stuff. I took video, but I've been forgetting to play it for you. I have it here and ready for playback. So let's say when we get to 9 o'clock or so, or 1 hour from now, remind me about these things. We can play back the ruler video, we can do the paste and peel before moving to the show and tell. And today's show and tell is going to be actually a repeat. It's something we have definitely seen here before, but there are so many new people here now that I think it's okay now and then to put a repeat back in. We're not going to start all over again and everything's going to be a repeat, but today's show and tell will be a repeat. Reruns. Okay, John, whatever. The problem with this here, I talked about it 2 weeks ago. I've used up all the small stuff that fits on the desk. That's about half the collection. The other half of the collection is stuff that doesn't fit on my desk here. And I really don't know how to move ahead to show and tell for those items. I'm open to suggestions. It would mean building something next to me here. Maybe I could sort of do that, build something here, put larger prints on it and adjust the camera a different way. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions here. Holiday season in 3 runs. Okay. It's such a tragedy having to look at another beautiful print for a second time. Whatever. Let's see. Masks out. Right. Outside show and tell. I mean, start walking around Tokyo. No thanks. That's not going to be my thing. Absolutely. Okay, let me get the setup here. I haven't got the camera here. Wood here. That means moving to the right here. Let's see. Actually, if I hadn't told you, lots of people wouldn't even notice anyway, so what's the difference? And this tripod wants to wander. Why does it want to wander? Oh, I know, there's a cable pulling it. Hang on a sec. Okay, there we go. That's zoomed in a bit close, so I'll probably wander out of the field of view. Let me know with the buzzer if it wanders. And this one too, we have another positive pattern. This is the green block that underlays the brown block we did. Remember, we talked about the green pattern here, and there was a checker pattern going on top of this one. Same here. This was green and there was brown going on top. Well, now we're looking at the actual green block. And this one has a pattern, positive, and this is a base tone. bring the outside camera in to show the bigger items. Yes, but it needs staff. We did this before. I think when Taran-san visited, or when somebody else visited, I took that opportunity when somebody was visiting to play with the cameras. You know, Dave can stand over there and show a large print, and somebody can work the camera. But I need somebody else to help me with that. Okay, let's do a bit of work at least. Let's just do some token work here. Yeah, I think Andy did that, did she? Or Taran-san, I think, did that too when he was here. We looked at some larger prints. So, so maybe that's the answer. I need more visitors. Job application. Travel not paid. She's sharp again. I sharpened it last night just before finishing. She's wicked sharp again. A bit too sharp for this job, perhaps. I took those finished blocks upstairs, and yesterday we had a 4 printer day. There was 4 of them again here working yesterday. And I took those finished couple blocks up there to show them, and they are really, and I mean really, really nervous about this. They're like, Dave, do you know what you're doing here? And they're concerned about the registration. Absolutely. That's their main #1 concern. They're kind of happy because the printing areas are not deep and rich and hard, because these ladies are worried that if I give them stuff that's too much hard work, they have trouble with it. But now the concern with this one is the opposite way around. They are really, really concerned about the registration. And all I can say is, yes, we're going to give it a try. You know, for the first 2 months, for the January, February print, I have carved them together. And this makes it really, really critical. There's so many little prints on one piece of wood. And if it turns out that they struggle just too much and or there are too many spoiled copies, then we can, of course, switch to doing one each month. You know, just the blocks for March and April, etc., on a piece of wood by themselves, which will really reduce the danger. But it'll not double the work, but it multiplies the work by a factor. So I'm going to go out on the gangplank, not the gangplank. I'm going to go out on the plank here and see if we fall into the water or what. I don't know. I have confidence in them more than they have, you know. Or more than they're allowed to show, of course. How's the outside mic volume? Can we hear the crows? Is it okay? The outside camera is the one that used to be the desk camera, and we know we had problems with the color balance when we compared the internal camera with the desk camera. So the outside one is the one that we were using for a desk, and it's set at the moment to automatic white balance. We don't want misregistration. I'm not asking the customers, please be allowing this. No, of course not. What I'm talking about misregistration is prints that we would have to throw away, of course. Well, there are always some. The first few prints in each batch, of course, they're getting the registration set up and aligned and getting things worked out. And one reason I'm fairly confident about this is because one of the main reasons for causing misregistration is partway through the printing if you've got a really strong, deep color and it's in a certain sort of shape or pattern. And if the printer uses too much pressure to get the depth and rich color on it, it can stretch and distort the paper at that point. And then you're screwed. If you've got concise registration on the rest of the print, now it's going to be much, much more difficult. So you keep that in mind. We talked the other day about the order of printing, which ones you do first and such like that. And that's another factor. I probably didn't mention it. The tightest registration items would be done before any other block that might tend to distort the paper. pop up just for a second. What we're looking at here, these black lines that go vertical. Hang on a second, let's pop this up. Here you go, I don't know if you can see it. It's in print number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fox character, and there are brown lines going across, and there are green lines. You can see there's a green, if you look at the character number 4, there's a green muffler on the fox character, and there's a green tone also on the shoes and at the base, and then there are green lines going vertically, and that's what we're going to cut now. Do I split the lines or choose one side? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Again, it depends. It depends. It depends. What I did just now going around, because of the scale we're talking about here, mostly, as a general rule, we're talking about splitting the lines. But it also depends, we've talked about this before, on the colors. This one is going to be white outside. There's nothing there. And if I came over, or if the printer comes over, it's going to show. If this background was going to be a darker color, I could actually get away with this. So I would cut closer to the outside if this was dark. Because this is light, I should be, and in fact I think I should have perhaps cut a little bit more inside. I've left a bit too much black here. There's a bit of danger of showing into the white space. I haven't made a mistake here, but if I was doing this again, thinking about it more carefully now instead of chatting, I would have cut that one a fraction more inside. We can pare them back. If there's going to be a mistake, it's better this way. If we've cut too narrow, we can't expand it. It depends. It really depends. You know. But honestly speaking, at the scale we're working here, just trying to get it around the line is an achievement, so whatever. That sounds like the Ninja Boy bicycle. One of the Ninja Boys comes with a motorbike, and that sounds like his. Which finger? It varies. It varies on the scale. Today I'm using my index finger, but sometimes it's the middle finger. And in fact, normally it might be the middle finger. But did you notice? I cut my finger yesterday. No, I think on the last stream I cut my finger and nobody noticed. And what it was I didn't cut it while I was actually working here. I was doing something and then looking at something else and probably looking at the chat and brushing with my hand like this, and I smashed the knife right into it. So I slit my finger. And that's why I'm not using that one today, because it's cut underneath, occupational hazard. So I think today I'm using my index finger, but probably the priority, in fact you can see the nail, it gets bashed up and beaten. So I think probably normally I use the middle finger, and today it's the index finger. But I don't know if it's an inviolate rule, I don't know. 0 day. Okay. But if I hadn't told you, it seems like nobody would have noticed. I don't know. This time there wasn't any red drops to tell the story. We've had that before, I think. I remember that sometime years ago on this stream. I did something similar to that, poked myself with one of these things, and I hadn't noticed it really. And then a minute later I saw there was a red drop on the thing. And I quickly sort of slid it out of view so the red drop wasn't in view, and did something with tissue and did something with a piece of tape on my finger and talking and talking. And when I read the chat later, it seems that nobody had actually noticed. Dave had sliced his finger open. It was bleeding on the block on live TV, and nobody noticed, or nobody was said anything about it. Call an ambulance. He's dying on TV. TV expression, whatever. These stripes here, these are going to be green stripes. The brown stripes we cut last time. When I looked at them after carving, I realized I had made a mistake. Dave, with his control freak character, he cut them all sharp and straight, forgetting that this is fabric. These are fabric lines. The last thing you want is sharp and straight. You want waviness, wiggliness, and natural. So here we are, these green lines, which I'm remembering now, where they're getting a bit of uneven wave back and forth. So any of you who get this print, have a look at it in the future. You'll see the green lines are nice and natural, but those brown lines, the ones that go across, they are dry and hard. If it's not one thing, it's another. Is Taran-san here this morning? It's Saturday morning, so perhaps our carver friend Taran-san is here? If so, I got a bit of a message. Taran-san, are you here today? Or carving, I hope. Yeah, too much coffee making a waving, so... YouTube silence, coming, at the end of the year. I don't know. Whatever, I shouldn't promise, because promises, whatever. But there will be a video shortly, once I have a print of this in hand. Once this is ready and test printed and proof later this week, I have to clear the deck, sit in front of a camera and announce the series. So that will be the next YouTube. And when I make that one, I will bow contritely and apologize for the 4-month silence. And I will tell people during that video that during the year end here, when all the other employees go home and once I've got the first print out the door, then my priority becomes YouTube. And there are lots and lots of prints and actions and things to talk about. So that's the plan. That's the plan. Yeah, the silver button thing as well. Yes, absolutely. Maybe the silver button, now that we think about it, it might be a good idea to roll that into the recap video. That next video will be announcing this series. It'll be talking about the year we've had. I'll show the charts of the finances and stuff like we do at the video at the end of every year. I'll show the completed series that we've made, talk about the finances, how the Patreon people are supporting us, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that'll be a good time to do the silver, or end the video with the silver play button, announce this series. So it'll be the recap video, and it's got to come around the 20th of this month, somewhere around there. The button has arrived. The button arrived months and months and months ago, but whatever. Oh, Vivid KP's announced about the series announcement. What's it going to be, Vivid-san? What do you think? Big secret. I don't know. So that's sort of the thoughts that are gelling together in my mind about video. But the announcement video, it is what it is, but it's not really a good, nice content video, So the idea is at the year end, or once the year starts, all the employees are gone. I will just put the phone in the drawer. There's no need to even look at the telephone. And that's the plan. That's the plan, Stan. And then for my own work in January, Chon-san is working on the Descending Geese print. Kawasaki-san will soon start working on 3 or 3/4 once we get that decision made, whether the next subscription print will be a single or a pair. She will start working on that. So Dave will now start carving once we get into January. If the legal thing does actually happen properly, I will start carving on the Beach Boys project. This is only the current thinking so far, but whatever, what do they say? Stand by for changes to the scheduled programming, What's that? Oh, I see. I was thinking, what is this thing? That's the lower clothing. There's a space for the tail because the tail is not green. I was curious what these two things were here. Yeah, that's clothing. Okay, I thought I screwed up, missed something here. That's correct. Okay, moving along to the last one here. This is the one you saw me doing the other color for. Oh, William's here. William, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, sir. What's William saying? I don't want to do self-promo on Dave's screen. William, talk about anything you're doing. Link to pictures, link to a URL, link to a video. It's okay. Link to your Twitch. William, I'm totally okay. Talk about your stuff. We're interested. We're interested. Share links. We're totally okay with this. We understand the thing. Nobody's coming in here bombing their own stuff. Relax. This is about woodblock printmaking. You're doing it. Share anything you've got there, sir. Lost it. Did you see it? Did you hear it? Tip of the knife. Look at that. It was in too deep. There's a mistake. Dave cuts in here, gets to the end of the stroke, and it's in too deep. Let's recap that. It went in here too deeply, and instead of pulling it straight out, I must have just tipped it sideways, and she's gone. The tip of the knife is gone. And we really don't have much left on this blade. I don't have another one ready on standby. Let's get the crap out of there first before we sharpen. There it is. It's in there. There it is. See it? Little triangle. It gets magnetized from the action. See there? Sharpening, sharpening. I don't think anybody distracted me. It's just whatever. Okay, the blade's too short. We're going to pull it, and I really don't know how much we've got left. It's possible that we've come to the end, but I don't know. Let's have a look and see what's going to happen here. How much have I got left on this? I think if I did have a new blade standing by right now, I would now make the switch at this point, but I don't have a new one in my drawer here, so we're gonna go one more time. You can see here that the blade, my handle over the years has become loose and wobbly. So a couple of things. I've got a shim in here at the bottom, jammed against the blade to keep it tight. And then at the top, the blade tends to wibble wobble. So I've put a bit of tape around it, which I've got to cut off now. It really is time. It's sort of getting time for a new handle as well, but I really don't like changing handles. They get personal, you know. They get personal. You know, I don't want to change this. This is only about maybe the fourth one. I don't know. I didn't keep track. They're all in a drawer over in Ome. I don't throw them away. I keep them in a drawer. So it's like 3, 4, 5 years for each one, you know. And it's just getting a bit loose. So the big deal, I'll just put some shims in it. Keeps the blade tight. But I should, of course, get a new collar. What's happened, if you can see the angle here. Over the years of sharpening, you keep the thing so low that the collar gets hit on the sharpening stone as well, bit by bit, and grinds away. This one actually is sort of okay now because it's ground away all that it's going to grind away. So when I'm sharpening today, for example, it's not going to touch because it's already cut down. But if this were a new handle, then as I'm sharpening, that handle and the collar are in the way. So they've got to be, you know, cut off, filed off. I think each time I get to this point, I have the feeling that, you know, I don't need to do this because this will last for the rest of my career or something. I don't know, but things keep moving forward. So we don't talk about Ito-san on this show. My microscope's in the way here, and hi, serious here. Let's sharpen. Lots of pressure, lots of force. Cut as much metal as possible at the beginning. All that black gunk, of course, is bits of iron, bits of steel. Tiny bit more. Back in the earlier days, doing this, the idea would be, when you've got a broken knife, put it on a stone and sharpen, and go all the way to the end. Do it all in one pass. Go right, just cut just right enough, and you look at it, how you're done, move on to the next stone. That way, if you do it once and look, and then do it again and look, and do it again and look, if you're a turkey at this, like I used to be, and I'm still a little bit gobbly, then you get the angle a little bit different. So you do your first part at a certain angle, inspect it, no, not quite there yet, put it back, but couldn't get it back in exactly the same angle. So you get a bevel. You get 1, 2, 3 different bevels here. I think I'm okay. I think I've got this thing pretty much on one bevel. You can see the edge, the feathered edge here, what do you call it? The metal that we have to take off. But the bevel, I think now is pretty much okay in one pass. But that was such trouble at the beginning, You make a few strokes at one angle, look at it, make a few strokes, and it's at a different angle, and it's just chaos. And by the time you're 5 minutes later, you've got a round bevel. It's just angled all over the place. It's much easier now because my hand is on the table here. Try and get the same angle. And this one, all it has to do, there's no shaping of the metal here. This is just simply taking out the scratches from the previous stone. So this one's easy. Just got to try and keep the angle. I'm up in the corner of my stone here because I've been careless. The center of the stone here now is dished a bit. If a professional came in here and looked at this, he'd think, oh no, I'm a bit careless because this stone is worn. It needs now to be flattened. So up in the corner here, there is still a flat area. I can get away with it because the knife is so small. If it was a plain blade, you couldn't do this. Okay, there's our basic sharpening, but again, the last stage, flat at the back, pick it up and destroy the blade, destroy the corner. We have to take off the actual finished edge, otherwise this thing will break instantly. See the bevel there? The shiny bevel. You can see it at the edge. So we've cut the back. There's a big bevel on the top, of course, the major bevel you see. And now there's a tiny little edge bevel at the back. Without that, if I left it at a perfect sharp angle, it just crumbles instantly as you put it into the hardwood. If you're shaving or something, of course you need that. Look at hollow ground, and it's still okay. I should maybe, if the hollow ground, look at this, it's right almost to the tip. And if the hollow ground area goes out to the outside, you don't have a good straight edge anymore. It doesn't really matter for us because all we're actually using on this knife, of course, we never actually use more than the tip itself. So even if that hollow ground area did extend up past the blade, we're not using this part of the blade. It's a bit wasteful, actually. It's funny. Most of the steel in this thing is actually never going to get used, and it's always going to be thrown away. The only steel we ever use is the part at the very tip of this thing. All of the rest of this is just support. So we've sharpened the whole thing all the way down, but it's only the millimeter at the end that actually ever touches wood. It's a bit of a shame when you think of all the resources, all the steel and iron and careful tempering, everything else that went into it. And of this knife, the only part that ever touches wood is about, whatever, a small percent of the actual thing itself. So be it. Let's try and get things back together. Where were we? If I had to flatten my natural stone, that's a nice polite way of doing this. My natural stone needs flattening. The stones here, you've got a bunch of different stones here. You've got you rub them together. You rub them together. You'd start at the bottom. If it was going to be a day for flattening all the stones, and I did this in Ome, there was a concrete flagstone, concrete one outside my workshop. And you take the roughest stone, get a bucket of water, throw the water on, and with your roughest stone, you rub it on the concrete there. It was smooth, finished concrete until it's flat. And then you go from there. Your next stone rubs on that one, and your next stone rubs on that one. You go up, up, up the chain of stones, rubbing them on each other until they're all flat. But that break was clearly my mistake. I sunk the blade too deeply into the wood. Absolutely. I didn't need to cut so deeply. I cut, and as I was cutting the line, it went deeper still, and then instead of pulling straight out, it pulled at an angle and popped it off. That was 100% me, nothing to do with a weak knife or anything like that. Did Dave live in Olme before COVID and commute in every day? I've never done a daily commute back and forth. When we first opened the Asakusa shop, I tried to keep a foot at both sides. And I went back and forth 2 times, 3 times a week, couple of days, 2 days, 3 days, 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, 2 days. I gave that up long ago. Once the store really came alive, it just wasn't possible. It's a 2-hour plus commute, and there's no way I'm going to spend 4 hours on the train every day just to go back there and sleep and get up and come here again. The Ome people work on their own. They don't need my input day by day by day, minute by minute. But I was much more needed in Asakusa, of course, working with both the printers and with the fans and people that came in the door. So it has become de facto that Dave sort of quote unquote lives in Asakusa. There's no fans and collectors here now, but the sizing gets done here. The printer work is here, and of course setting up things like for this stream. If I was going back and forth to Ome, it would be just chaotic, absolutely chaotic. So even though my legal residence is Ome, my de facto residence has become Asakusa. And speaking about the work out there, there is sort of a, I was going to say crisis. It's not crisis. There's a change coming. We have to have a change. The shipping volume now has massively increased over the past few months. The ladies there are staggering under the load. We hired one more lady a couple of months ago, and she's working well. But the problem now is that it's gone beyond housewife type work. And the 2 part-time ladies, they come like 10 o'clock and they go home at 3:30 because they got to get dinner for their family and stuff like that. And the volume now has increased beyond what 2 or 3 housewife ladies can do. And we've also got the tax law problem. They cannot work more than 2 days a week, each of them. So if I look at it from the point of view of just the business, not the point of view of the people, it's time to switch to a system where we have a full-time employee out there who is a shipper, who works weekdays, Monday to Friday, as the post office does. And they process in each day all the orders that are waiting, and everything goes to the post office that night. My problem is neither of the 2 ladies who are currently doing this can do that. They have family obligations. They are not ready or willing or interested in becoming a full-time employee. So to make that switch would mean laying them off, firing them. Goodbye. Thank you for all the fish you've done. Here we are, a new employee, full-time, is coming in to do this job super efficiently. And we can't do that. I can't just tell them goodbye. But as I said, thinking about it from the point of view of the job description, not the people, we need now a full-time employee over in Ome just on shipping. The other part of the job is the packaging prints. That's not time sensitive, but it is another job that gets done over there. The 2 of them split the 2 functions. So we've had some powwows and conferences and talking about what to do. And we're going to run to the end of the year as we are, and then January, February, the workload will decrease again. So we'll be okay in January, February because there's not so many orders. But clearly, we cannot do another year and another busy season under the growth that we are encountering now with the same system. And I don't know what to do. We're going to have to talk to the ladies and see what they can do and what they want to do. But I don't know. Talk about the diamond stones, high pressure and lesser pressure. I don't know what we're talking about. When I said high pressure, push it in and take away that metal, is that what's our level here? When I said high pressure, low pressure, I'm just talking about my fingers pressing on this thing. So I don't know. I hadn't considered that. Am I using too much pressure? I don't know. High pressure and water works for Dave, so I don't know the definition of high pressure here. But it's a thought. I will consider this. I hadn't thought about that at all. I would have assumed that those things would just gradually wear out over time, bit by bit by bit. Whatever they are, there are particles of diamond, which I guess would presumably come loose. I don't know. The 400 here, it seems still pretty rough. I don't know. The holes, the areas where there's no diamond are actually quite bothersome to us because my tool is so small it tends to fall into those places where there is no diamond dust. I don't know. I say no visible wear, but what do I know? What can I see? It's just a bunch of, looks like tiny particles and glue holding it to the surface of the steel. I'll keep it in mind. High pressure. How many prints do we expect to get from this cut? We're looking for thousands, down the years, thousands. Some of the wood we're using these days is not really as hard as it should be, as it could be, should be. Excuse me. But we are absolutely looking for thousands, without question. I don't have perfectly exact numbers at hand right here, right now, but our most popular prints, the Great Wave, of course, is now, I guess it's approaching its 3,000 copies pulled, not 3,000 copies sold, but we're certainly getting near 3,000 copies pulled. The earliest prints in the Ukiyo-e Heroes series, the one we call Rickshaw Cart and the Fox Moon one. Rickshaw Cart, I think it's 1,800 or something now, I don't remember. It's pushing 2,000. And the blocks are still in wonderful, wonderful, wonderful condition. But that was wood from 10 years ago. The wood we're using now is not anywhere near as nice and hard and as dense as the wood we had 10 years ago. So the print I'm cutting now, can I really expect to get 2,000 copies from it? That's just an open question, and I really don't know. We would like to get a very large number of copies over the years, but will that actually happen? We just simply don't know. Some years back I would have been a bit worried about that, and we're a long tail publishing company. You make your investment in a set of blocks and the payoff doesn't really come back until many, many years down the road once your initial amortizations are covered and you're now printing profit. But for us, that's not the way it's happening. Most of our print volume in any given year now is made up of new prints that we have freshly produced, or certainly within no more than 2 or 3 years. Ukiyo-e Heroes is now, I think it's down to about 5% of our volume. The Great Wave is a small percent of our volume. Far and away, most of the prints we sell are freshly made, freshly baked, freshly cut prints. And as long as we can keep that up, it sort of wouldn't matter if the blocks didn't last all that long, because we're just churning. We're making new ones all the time anyway. So although I would like to have the blocks here and keep using them for decades and long after I'm gone, it may actually not work out that way. How's our time? 8:54, a few more minutes left here. Someone says that's a lot of batches of 60 prints, and it is, but that's our job. That's our job, you know. Don't forget about straight lines video. Yeah, let's do that at like I said, 9 o'clock. Call me at 9 o'clock for the straight lines video. Then we'll do that. Then we'll do a paste down, and then we'll move on to our show and tell. Where am I next here? Okay, what we've got here, this is going to be a bunch of leaves, which I drew. They weren't on the key blocks, so I had to draw the leaves manually. Then this one has green little tiny buds. This is looks like maybe a cherry or a plum just opening. The seasons don't match on these things. There's a bunch of tiny green buds here. Then this one, I need some green splashes behind the pine tree that's in the middle of this print, and this is not clearly defined. Even on the original I'm copying, it's not clearly defined. So step one is going to be simply cut a larger piece here to cover all the pine, and then once I've roughed that out, go inside and chop away the parts we don't need. Like when we do calligraphy, go around the whole thing first then come back and do the delicate part. This is apprentice work, roughing out the area first. Then the master can come in and do the do the delicate parts. These prints are going to be so beautiful, you know, it'll be so much fun, you know. I'm really glad we took on the challenge of doing this project this year, you know. The other night, not the other night, last night, I was thinking forward to set 3 and 4. Jed's going to bring us some sketches for number 4, and I have to choose some reproduction prints for number 3. So I was browsing through my collection last night, you know, the collection of small match label prints. You know, we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of them. So I was browsing through, you know, what would be a good candidate for the next month, because the whole year's work isn't already planned out. We're just going to wing it and play it, you know, going through bit by bit by bit. I have to keep a variety of mood. You know, I've decided that it's going to be, for example, the first one here, these are a bit of nature prints, so that's fine. Next one will be something else. There will be some overt landscapes coming. There will be some kabuki prints. I really want some wild action in some of these prints. So there's going to be a kabuki set. There'll be a landscape set. And then I might do a... Back before the war, they published some sort of strange sets. One group once, they published a set of skeleton prints doing sports. It was a promo for the 1949, or what was it? No, the Olympics that didn't happen. What was it? 1942 Olympics or something. I can't remember. That never happened, or it didn't happen in Japan anyway. I don't remember the story. So we might do that. We might do a sort of not a spoof set, but a sort of a laugh set, you know. No idea. All I can guarantee is that there will be variety and that there will be delight. That's the idea for the series for the year. But exactly what designs we're going to do, I'm going to just take it group by group by group. You know. So there's the, you know, group, there's the tree all a whole. We could leave it like that, but that would look funny. If I pop up the original, I'm not sure if you can see the detail. We're looking at the print number, in the bottom row, print number 3. You can see the pine tree is there, and you can see needles poking out of it. So I've just now got to trim back that green so that it leaves some light coming through. Where's our tree here? So there's the roughed out area. I've now got to trim out the outside, and then I've got to get in the middle and cut out some white spaces so that we have light coming through from the back of the tree. And I'll copy what I see in the original. Okay. Buzzers. Okay, now, I tried doing this before, playing back a previous video, and we had real problems with the sounder stuff. And at the moment, I haven't been able to test this, so I have no idea whether there will be sound or not. It doesn't matter. You're just going to see like a 3 or 4 minute clip of me cutting some of the straight lines. I'm not talking during that clip. I just recorded the video. But whether I can talk over it and tell you what's going on, I don't really know. Only one way to find out. Let's try doing this. I'll turn it on and we'll see 2 or 3 minutes of video. Whether I can talk over it or not is unknown. Let's just have a look at this, see how it goes. Over to playback. I'm here. Can you hear me or not? Is there sound from the knife? No sound from the knife, okay. The ruler has tape on the back to lift it off the surface. Here's the ruler. It has a masking tape just to lift it a fraction off the surface. And the knife has a flat side and the normal bevel. And the flat side is against the wood, against the line. And we're not cutting wood here. We're not cutting. We're just scratching the surface. Oops, that was it. Let's play that again. I thought it was set to loop. Let's start it again. The point being, we're not cutting deep. We're just scratching. The idea here is to show where this line is going to be. If I tried to cut deeply here, it's going to bang against the metal of the chisel. It's going to put stress against the line. There's the flat side. In she goes, just sliding there. And the ruler, as I said, it's lifted up off the wood, so the steel is not scraping against the metal of the ruler. And you can see it's just a scribed line. Scribing, scoring, what's the word? You tell me. And I really don't like this tool, and I don't use it very often. As we saw a few weeks ago, I couldn't find my straight line knife. I hadn't used it in years. With this scope and a good lens, I can sort of see where the lines are. Where it would really be used is if you're doing this year's series. I'm going to be using it all the time for this year's series. And if there was a bunch of buildings in your prints that need straight lines and all that kind of stuff. But that just hasn't been common in my prints recently, so I haven't needed it and didn't use it much. So there you are. Sorry about not doing that earlier live on whatever. Okay, let's do some paste and peel. This isn't finished yet, but let's get on the back and paste and peel. Oh, I haven't even cut it yet. I did mock it up. I had my 4 pieces of wood, and I've already selected which color, which goes in which place. Excuse me. The reason was, some of these prints, in fact, you can see this one. There was a strong defect in one corner here. This is a defect in one corner, so I selected one of the color blocks that didn't use this print. We're not using that area for this one, so the defective wood is no big deal. There was also a split down here, and I moved my registration mark over to avoid the split. We're not using prime wood here. We're using whatever we can get. So I've already mapped out what goes where. And this was the block I set aside for this one, which will be the gray shadows. There's a shadow in the water, which we traced. There's shadows, this is gray, there'll be shadows inside the foliage here, and on the body the fish itself will be a gray fish. There will be touch shadows here. Again, I don't quite know what to carve, we'll do it freehand when I get there. The bamboo in the background bamboo, I had to trace by hand. This generic thing. So this is the gray block. There'll be a gray tone behind the branch. And not sure yet, the feet will be there. I'm still not sure about whiskers. I'm going to cut them, but my guess is we may be pulling them off and not using them, because I think once we print them, they may be just too disruptive. I don't know. One way to find out. We'll just cut them and try it. Okay, let's paste this down. Where is the other one? We have to go back to the key block to compare. I want them in the same place. So the corner one is easy, that's a defined place, but I want this registration mark in the same place on the color blocks as it was on the key block. So there's our registration marks. You can see them clearly. That will be the corner mark, and this will be the straight line into which the paper is going to fit at printing time. That's how our registration gets transferred. This sheet with the whole outline designs, for those of you, again, I don't know how much to repeat, whatever. This sheet was made by inking the key block, putting this paper carefully into the corner, and taking the impression from it. And by doing the same thing now, preparing the corner, putting glue here and pasting this down, that's the transfer method. That transfers the information from the key block to the color blocks. And of course, these red areas represent the parts that we will retain on the color block. So there's your transfer method. That's it. It's simple. Registration marks, print it. Cut registration marks anywhere you want them, and then paste it in, and you will automatically get your perfect transfer of information. I didn't invent this. It's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Can he see chat? Yes, he can. He can see chat, but he can't sit here reading it all the time. So yell loudly or something. Excuse me. This is a color block, no specific delicate lines on it, so we won't use glue to paste this down. We're going to use mucilage. It's that stuff that we used to call mucilage back in school. It's made from some kind of gum arabic. It's really tacky and sticky. It does a nice job. One benefit of it is that it's totally, completely water soluble and soft. So even if it sinks into the wood, it doesn't cause trouble with the pigments that will be applied later. If we used a glue that was too hard and the glue sinks into dry wood, then later the pigment mix wouldn't properly sink in. I've got a catch in my throat this morning. Excuse me. And the glue here, it's Goldilocks. If there's not enough, the thing will of course peel off while we're carving. And if there's too much, it soaks into this paper and it's hard to peel off. Now it's something, we said we're going to have a nice peel today, but there is a qualification. We're not going to get any 10 out of 10s here today, because look at this. We have here today, we have an overlay. So watch what's going on here. Most of this is Gampi paper on a backing sheet. on this glue, the Gampi will get stuck to the block, the backing sheet will then pull off. But we will not be finished because the Gampi has an overlay. For this bamboo, I put another piece of Gampi on here. So there's 2 layers of Gampi here, and only the one on top is the one that's going to get stuck to the wood. Watch. I need a drink of water. My desk, is it my bones or is it the desk that's creaking? This is not a printer's bench. Oops, sorry, should be on screen. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Remember the other day we peeled off half the Gampi because I had the spray glue too strong. Here we are, here's our double. Okay, first step, easy enough. If I had put spray too much in that, it would start to peel us off, but that's okay. And now we can see the place where it's 2 layers. No problem, we just simply we can cut it to a safe place. Doesn't scratch, well, even if it scratches wood, doesn't matter, that's going to be peeled away later. Here we go. And now the back layer comes off, leaving just the one that was pasted on the front. And now we got to be careful. If I do a peel here, I've got to be careful because it'll mess up at the corner here. So let's try our peel. But keep in mind we can't pull off that area. Where am I? Get her started. Okay, let's get her started and away we go. Be careful here, that'll come off, no problem. And now let's go around that area. And we're okay. And this one has to have its own separate peel because it's a separate piece of Gampi. Here it is. It's going to have its own peel. Off she comes. Bingo. There's a bunch of old Hansta in the Victoria and Albert Museum over in London. There's Hansta for a series of prints, the Hjakninishu series designed by Hokusai. And a whole bunch of them didn't get made into woodblock prints, and just the Hansta are there. And a lot of them have that same thing. They've got the design there, and then another bit is pasted on and pasted on and pasted on. And it's kind of confusing when you look at it, but then you realize he's just, the designer is trying. Maybe the print will be there. Let's see, no, I don't want it there. I want it here instead. No, let's move it over here. And when you've done your copy paste, then you take that thing and you paste it down and you do what I just did. So that's the reason we sometimes, frequently, always see old Hansta with little bits of Gampi paper stuck on the front of them. Because only the topmost one gets stuck down onto the block. Also, those of you who are connoisseurs of this channel and who have been watching for a long time, you may notice that the last few peels we've been doing, we're using the 5mm gampi. And the front layer of that gampi seems to be quite thick. So even after doing a full peel like that, there's still quite a lot to take off. I'm not making an excuse, I'm just pointing it out. Obviously that's handmade paper, and the person who rocked it, it's just a little bit different, a little bit variation each time. And so a while back there we had some sheets that were just so perfect. You could tease one corner and zoom, they came up like a blanket. Recently it's not quite so simple, this current batch. It'll do it still, it's okay. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Here's the stuff we pulled off. There's the bits and pieces that came off. Okay, 9:16. Let's move over to our show and tell. Excuse me, and I really do have something in there. So then for the next stream, by the time Monday comes around, I will probably have finished this green one, and I will be hacking my way through this gray block. We'll see. No idea. No guarantees. Lots of work. Okay, I said show and tell was a repeat. And if anybody wants to complain, they can complain to the management later. Because this book is worth looking at every day of the week. (1902). It's Japan, it's 1902. There's a nursery in Yokohama. Not a nursery as with kids' nursery, there's a nursery as with plants, baby plants. It's run by a German man and his wife, family, whatever, in Yokohama. He's selling stuff overseas. He's taking Japanese plants. You could do this in the old days. He's taking Japanese plants, packaging them and selling them overseas. And he is, of course, importing flowers and plants too and selling them within Japan. He has a catalog. He's advertising his stuff, buy my plants and seedlings and all that kind of stuff. And he has an idea for a way to promote his business. And he works together with a man called Takejiro Hasegawa. And together, or it's actually prepared by Hasegawa, but we assume that a lot of the sponsorship of the money came from the German man, whose name I don't remember, running the flower shop. And this book was produced as a book in its own right, but also clearly as a promotion for the flower business. Because at the back of these books, we have this. Oh, here's his name, Boehmer. And this is his business. Alfred Unger was the current proprietor, and they're nurserymen. I don't think that we still use this word, nurserymen. And he sold, roots and seeds and this and that. The only European nursery in Japan established 1882. And the business was going in back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And this is Hasegawa, the publisher who made the book. And it's worth looking at. This is a staggeringly, interestingly, fabulous production. The lettering you see is all made from metal type. It was printed in some kind of, not an offset press, it was printed from a relief press in Yokohama at that time. The woodblock parts you see are all classic hand-carved, hand-printed woodblocks. And it's what we would look at as the Hasegawa style. The certain way of carving, the certain way of adding gradations is very common to Hasegawa's productions in the late 1800s, 1890s, through the first half of the 20th century. They were still in business around the 1930s before it all collapsed and came to an end. This book is 1902. And how many books were produced, somebody's asking. I haven't the slightest idea, nor do I know if the researchers really know about this. It's not super rare like a Gutenberg Bible or something, but they are not so commonly seen. And when they do come up now, they run $1,000 or so. And they're delicate beyond belief. You can see the paper, the thickness of the Hosho paper, the type bites into the paper, and it's like those books I used to get when I was a kid. Books used to be made this way, and as you were reading, you could feel the physical type and the paper. And they've done this. They've used a thick Hosho paper, and the type just bites into it beautifully, and the tight part of it is just as attractive as the woodblock print part. And it's open space and balance and delicacy and whatever. You got to sit here and hold this thing in your hands. Part of the intro to the book, this is the page we're supposed to skip actually. It shows the yellow area that is Japan, including what is it, the Kamchatka Peninsula, because Japan had just finished an episode with Russia at the time. And then of course the area that they're calling Formosa, this is colored yellow as being part of Japan, because Japan had an episode with China and had borrowed some territory. The part that's marked as Korea is still white because this is 1902 and Japan borrowed part of this land in 1905. This is the era of Japanese expansion still. They were going for it. They were trying to cover the entire Pacific in this yellow. Anyway, leaving that all aside, let's look at the pretty pictures. No, it was Kamchatka. Sorry, someone's incorrect here. The Sakhalin Island, that's these. These are the Kuril Islands. This is the Kamchatka Peninsula. So whatever, they're both there. The islands that are still now in contention are part of this area here. At the time Japan took them, Russia took them all back again in 1945. And that's going back and forth. This part, the Kamchatka Peninsula, was colonized by Japan. And they lost that in 1945. And there's no argument about that part. So they're both there. History lesson with Dave, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. And in a single word, it's delicacy. Delicacy. The lines are delicate beyond belief, and the colors and tones and tints. And this is not faded. This is the Hasegawa style. It was his idea, his taste to make it at this level of delicacy. You're going to see some images here that are in our catalog because we have stolen from this book on any number of occasions. The time and trouble it takes to do this pink, you know. You'd carve one block for all this and you'd rub with a brush. You've got a little tiny brush, 1 gradation, 2 gradation, 3 gradations, and bang, 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 away you go. The book is generally organized over the course of a year. We start, as you saw, we started in the spring and it runs through the course of a year. And most of the book is white empty space, but it doesn't matter. It works, it works, it works. Everything's carved. There's no painting here. I said the gradation was added by a brush. Excuse me. That's part of our normal process. The block here is carved and the brush adds a gradation, but nobody's painting onto the paper. We put the gradation on the wood and it's then transferred with a barrel. So every line you see is carved and every color tone you see is printed with the barrel. It's not a painting in that sense. Nobody's painting onto the paper. Sakhalin and Kamchatka. Okay, I'll look it up, whatever. Thank you, whatever. And another Hasegawa trademark, stuff that just disappears to nothing. There's no real definition of where it is and where it isn't. They were experts at doing gradations, that there's a color here and there's nothing here, but where the transition happens, we can't see. Those printers were just so good at this. So good at this. Every page is just whatever. Every page is glorious. This book does come up. If you do a Google search for it, or Abe Books or whatever it is these days for finding old books, you could get it. This is the second edition. The one I've got, 1902, is the second edition. It was published first in, I think, was it 1900 or maybe 1898? I don't remember, I'm sorry. The one I've got is the nicest edition, the second edition. And it's super, super high quality paper. And we don't have the packaging problem. We've seen this before, we talked about it before. Maybe what I should do for show and tell sometime next week is I should bring down some foxed prints. We've got a box upstairs full of prints we can't deal with because they're all heavily foxed or mildewed or molded. And most of those prints are post-war. It's the era when prints started to be wrapped in different packaging. And the packaging paper caused a lot of the problems. But a print like this, a book like this from 1902, each of these prints is not packaged. The prints are just with each other inside the book. It never gets opened, it never gets looked at, it doesn't catch any sunshine. And the paper was such high quality that it didn't fox. It's two-tone, you know. There's a brown at the bottom. Can you see the brown tint at the bottom? Just to give an extra frisson to the leaves here. You see it here, a bit stronger on some of these. These leaves are two-tone. This book was never reprinted to the expert's knowledge. The 1902 edition is what it is. And when they say 1902 on the book, it seems to be. Sometimes prints were, carved, and they would say the date on the print, and they would be printed for decades after the fact, like our Great Wave is. Our Great Wave was carved in 2014, but we're still printing it now. But this book is not known to have been extensively reprinted. The copies that the researchers find them all pretty much exactly the same. So 1902 means this is now 119 years old, 120 years old. It's in glorious condition, 120 freaking years old. Look at this. Look. Why would they do that? Would anybody notice this? Why would they do that? What's the building? Someone's asking, is it a church? I have no idea. Is it a real place that existed in Meiji, Japan at that time? There's a Japanese garden with wisteria. Is this meant to be kamedo? If I had to take a wild guess, I would think this is kamedo, and maybe that's the decorations they had on the shrine at that time. But no knowledge here. I don't know. Someone says that's the middle page. It's not the middle page. The book is constructed, all of these pages are the same. They are all full sheet prints. There's no, sometimes you've seen the books we have where the left and the right are made on different sheets of paper folded and bound together. This is not that way. This is an album format. Every spread you're seeing was a woodblock print and then run through the printing press. And then when they were all finished, they were not folded backwards and sewn together. They were folded forwards and they were glued together at the outside edge. If I can open this up. Hi. This is one woodblock print. This is another. Well, no, let's find a page that has pictures. Okay, whatever. Here we are. This was one woodblock print, then folded in the middle. This was another woodblock print, folded in the middle, and they were glued together. I have to be careful here. They're glued together at the outside edge. It's about 1 centimeter of glue running down the edge. And that would have left it as a quasi-accordion book, but they also then put a binding at the back. They glued a strip into the back, so the things are glued together at both ends. So you saw that picture, it looked sort of like the middle of the book, but actually they're all folded exactly the same way. The woodblock prints were done directly on this Hosho paper, a piece. It would have been a bit bigger than this and they would have trimmed it later. It's thick, beautiful Hosho paper. And we talked about this last time I looked at this book, whether the pictures were done first or whether the metal type was done first. It's not quite clear. I can find evidence for both ways. I can find evidence where there are gradations extending up into the type and the type hasn't been flattened, which would seem to indicate that the type came later. And then there are some indications of places where the type has been flattened. So I'm ambivalent on this. I don't know which one came first. I see evidence for both ways. And someone's asking, why is the book in English? Because it was aimed at foreigners. There was no Japanese consumption marketing involved here at all. It was aimed at foreigners overseas and foreigners who were living in Japan. And also, as I said, as a sort of a PR exercise for the nursery. Look at the delicacy here. This is rain, show. This is rain. Very light, super rain. There's color inside these things. Just whatever. You just sit and look at this book with your jaw hanging out. It is online in our collection. Perhaps John or somebody else has already put a link. This is all online. We've also done a YouTube video about this, talking about it, describing it. So we have extensively talked about this book and made it available, absolutely. So if you want to spend more time looking at these, it's all online. Someone's got it? Thank you very much. Someone's asking, how many of these are languishing in collections where people have no idea what they are? You tell me. How many are out there? They're out there somewhere. There are a bunch of them, of course, captured in institutions, but there are probably most of them. I mean, people wouldn't throw this away, obviously. It's not like those magazine pictures that people would throw away. So yeah, they're out there somewhere. You get the gradation? There's a gradation, circular sort of, what color is it? It's orange, beige, sepia behind this thing. There is a gradation behind this to set it off. Someone's querying the rain. It was rain. It's printing intended to have the feeling of rain. We saw it again. It comes in a few of these things. Let me try. Can you see there? If I get the angle. This is rainy season in Japan, and this color, the print is gray that's printed here, is intended to depict rain. And they've used scratch carving, of course. You can see the lines are not smoothly cut. The lines are roughed up and bashed up and roughed up. This is all scratch carving to depict rain. Look at it. Can you see it? It's there. This is printed. This is not a dirty mark on the page. That's rain. Gentle, misty, rainy season rain. These guys were nuts. They were just nuts. Some of it looks to be a little bit embossed. People are asking about embossing because the paper was so thick. The paper is so thick that when you do any kind of printing on it, it leaves an embossed kind of effect. Let's see if we can find an area. If we look at this flower, if we zoom right in, if I turn it to the right angle here, you can see it, show? The paper, the printing seems to have been sunk into the surface of the paper because the paper's so thick. Look. I have no other different words to say. I'm just astonished. Every line is carved like a master stroke, and the printer's just touched everything exactly right. It can be done. I'm nervous, we said with our girls, right? We're nervous whether we can print these blocks that we're doing here with these similar little ideas. We've got little dots and stuff. Can we get it registered? Can we print it properly? It can be done. This is what we're going to try and do this year, you know. Just, I cannot get enough of this book. I could do this same show and tell every day of the year for a year and not get bored with it. I don't know. I didn't mention one thing, the designer's name. I understand it's to be Mishima Shoso. He's one of the designers who was busy in Kuchie at that time. And Hasegawa used him for a number of books, for some of the fairy tale books and for this project. And we say Mishima Shoso as a single name, but it's his workshop, his group that did this, his apprentices and his co-workers and stuff. Way too much work for one man. Flowers they could do. You guys in the chat, you're talking about the dog, cat, weasel. That's a different story, but boy, flowers these guys could do. domo, arigatou gozaimasu. It's the post office leaving something, maybe for next time's show and tell. Who knows? I don't remember what's coming actually. Look at the lines. I'm jealous. Look at the lines. The book has been photographed, is in our collection, and somebody popped the link up just a moment ago. I'm sure they can pop the link up again. It's in our collection. You can read the whole book in there. Super high resolution. Somebody did put the link in a minute ago. Here it comes again. Thank you. Chocolate eggs all around to all the people helping support this. Thank you very much. The originals for these would have been watercolor painting. Not like a painting on a scroll or something, but they would have been watercolor paintings on small scraps of paper. Shoso or his team would have made watercolors first. This is not ukiyo-e style. When you're doing ukiyo-e paint, woodblock prints, you do line work first and then add colors. These would not have been done that way. They would have been done as watercolor paintings, then sent over to a production team. And the production team would look at the painting, and some of it would be easy. Some of it would be line work, like you see in this one. And then they would have had colors to fit. But some of it, like the previous print we just saw, there's no line work. They would have just made color blocks straight from the painting. And they may have traced over the top of it with thin Gambi paper. We don't know the actual way that you would do it, but someone would sit there with the watercolor painting, someone with knowledge, and would say, okay, how many blocks do we need for this? And the area I'm looking at here, it looks like green. It looks like maybe there's 2 blocks. There's a base green block for the larger mottled tones, and there's another green block for the inside ones. Or maybe it's more than 1 green block for the inside ones. I don't know. A group and B group. And then it went to the printing team, and they've got to figure out what to do with these blocks. Because you've got a block here that's carved, for example, here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these patches. But the printer has to know what to do with the gradations. So the printers must have had access to that original watercolor painting. Remember, there's no color photography much going on in those days. There's nothing happening, to reproduce it for them. So the printers must have had access to that and sat down and decided how many impressions are we going to use to get this. This one's fairly simple. This one does have outlines with clearly defined colors. This one is much simpler to produce. And again, because Hasegawa's printers, he would have used the same printing teams all the time. So they knew his style. They knew how much of a fade out he wants at the edge. They know the concept. I think the workshop's name, I can't remember it. It's documented. Kameya or Kaneya was the family who were his main printers throughout the bulk of Hasegawa's main productive years. In fact, I can't remember the detail quite. I think Hasegawa married someone. They got involved in Christianity. He divorced, and then I think he married the daughter of one of the printers, or the daughter of the printer workshop. I don't know the details. It's documented in reference books. I don't remember that much. I'm sorry. Maybe he was just trying to get control of the printing by marrying the girl. I don't know. Now we can get a good price at that workshop. I don't really know. Someone's asking, what are those arrows? I don't know. Just a minute. What are we looking at here? This stuff is chapter markings. These are what do you call them? These are metal type. What's the word for these things? End of a chapter. Start of a new chapter. I don't know. There's a word for them. Somebody who knows typography. Wingdings, I think, is the general term for all the little ones, but there's a name for the thing that comes at the end of a chapter or at the end of a section saying, okay, here we are, instead of saying END. There's a name for that. No, glyphs and wingdings are a generic term for this kind of stuff. Let's use something from our collection of wingdings and put it in here. But I don't know the term for the typographist. If we have a professional typographer here, he will know what that is. And we say we don't really need it here at the end of the section, the start of a new section, and away they go. So A few pages left. Let's just roll through the end. We're over time here, but let's just whatever. Let's just run through to the end of the book. People can go home if they like. It's no problem. Just run through to the end. Edgewater Casino. It wasn't my thing, actually. I'm not a casino person, not in any way. I see that in the chat now and then. Does Dave relax by going to the casino? And no, I don't. Oh, domo. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you. Lots of deliveries here. Domo. Ah, もう一個. Wow. This is stuff from Ome subscription prints, and this is going to make up the bulk of the next FedEx box to America. So if you've placed an order on the website over the past, not to yesterday because that was the cutoff, but if you've placed an order on the website for US or Canada, domo, thank you. It's in here and it's now going to go into a FedEx box and out it goes. Domo. So that'll be 2 weeks. They're giving us 2 weeks time to the US from Japan. Don't make me angry. Don't talk about it. I have set foot in a casino. It's this. I've set foot in this one. My mom and dad used to relax there. They would walk down the beach to the Edgewater, go in there, drop their $20 each week that they used to drop on gambling, and then come out. And one year I was visiting them in February, and like they said, they're sitting edgy. It was really, really funny. They're like, they got to do something, and I'm sitting there. I've arrived from Japan, special. Their son is here. It's only one chance a year, and they're like, it's casino time. So I walked, it's the 2 kilometer walk along the beach. We go in there, they spend their $20 and drink coffee and talk to the girls and come home. And then my dad had a couple of these. So when he passed away, I'm cleaning up his shirts. I got a bunch of his shirts and I got some of his sweatshirts. So I have two Edgewater Casino sweatshirts. My parents had I say had, my mother still does. They had what's the deal? People that talk about gambling, they had a system for this. They had a system. When I first heard about this, I thought, oh my God, my parents have a gambling system. Oh my God, I'm going to be destitute. No, their system was guaranteed every time to win. And they guaranteed they won every time. They didn't win money. They won a walk down the beach, a couple of hours relaxed with their friends. They had their budget for 20 and they came home. Their system was great. They would win a little bit and they didn't put it back in the machine. We've talked about this before. They win a little bit, put it in an envelope. So they'd keep playing this, playing that, playing this, chat, drink some coffee, play this, till their 20 was gone. Then they go home. And the little envelope had whatever they had won that day. And some days maybe they had won absolutely nothing. Some days they might have won 19. Some days they win 40. I don't know. So they bring the envelope home and put it in the little box for the casino. And out of it they take the next day's stuff. So that was their system. Guaranteed success, pleasure every time. They would spend their 20. The 20 would disappear completely. And they would have some kind of winnings. And they would have had their pleasant afternoon. Guaranteed casino system. And they did that for years and years and years. And I guess since my dad passed away, maybe if my mother's here today, I don't know. Since my dad passed away, they don't do that. She doesn't do it by herself. It's not so much pleasure by herself. And it's a little bit dangerous now for her by herself to walk like 2 kilometers down the beach. So those are bygone days. But they had their system. What a wonderful system it was. And every now and then my mother would tell me, she'd say, the lady from upstairs, and there's an ethnic aspect to this we don't need to mention, but the lady from upstairs, and she says, I saw her at the casino, and she went to the ATM machine, and 10 minutes later, she went back to the ATM machine, and blah, 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 blah. So my mother was so proud, and still is so proud of her, we do this for recreation, we're okay, it's fine. So that's why Dave has these 2 Edgewater Casino t-shirts, and I don't care if people think I'm spending money in the casino. I don't care. I don't actually do that, but whatever. A sweatshirt. See, sometimes just a sweatshirt. This is Atenashi Bokashi. There are 2 green blocks here. There's a light colored green block around the whole area, and you can see there's a darker green block with some darker green shades that are carved in here. So they print those, a light green and a dark green. Then the printer has gone back to the light green block again, and he has done what's called ate nashi bokashi. He's just done it, there's no carved area, he is just rubbing his brush as he feels in order to make a gradation here and a gradation here which feathers out at the end. And this is tough. Our ladies upstairs do not like this. And you don't see it often in our work because it's tough. It's also no fun. When you're really super good and super fast, bang, 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 you get control of it. The problem is the pigment builds up in your brush, and bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, the area gets wider and wider and wider when amateurs like us do it. The super top guns of the past would just know just how much to do, and they're running through these sheets one by one by one. And it would be really, really nice to have another copy of this to compare. You can see the parts that are exactly the same, and you can see the parts that are slightly different on the two versions. It's a summer wind chime, and I think it's probably a miniature. It's a bonsai. It's a fern thing. He said they sell fern balls, right? What did he say? Fern balls. And I think that's what we're looking at here. It's a ball of roots and stuff and mulch put together, tied together with string, and there's a fern growing in it. So I think this is what they were referring to as a fern ball. And no, it's not a radish. Can I take back a chocolate egg? So good. Okay. Anyway, away we go. We've run way over time, but I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. This book is what it is. It's well worth looking at. Just so you know. There's the title. Look it up. It's online on our collection page for full, peaceful, quiet browsing. Okay, I'm done. I am now back to the carving, and I'll be here again Monday morning, fresh from my swim on Monday. But I'll talk about it later. There's stories. The fitness center is a fountain of stories. Well, it's Dave interacting with human beings, so there's stories galore. Remind me later, we can have something, whatever. And I've got a chart. It might be oversharing. I've got a chart of my weight. There's a fitness room. We shower, change. Before I put my clothes on, I drop my towel on the floor and stand on the scale. And we're going to get rid of this. I know the lady whose name, I shouldn't say her name, the lady who sent the jeans, is she still here? We're on target. Hold on. Those jeans you sent me, which I can't get into, give me a few months. Give me a few months. We're on target. Okay, I got to get out of here. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I'll enjoy reading the chat, I'm sure, when I'm having my lunch. Let's put up outside. The fitness center, the people that are there, I tell you, there's so much. I could just, whatever. Where am I here? Let's turn that camera off out of the way. What creature is this? Didn't stop and pee on the camera. Okay, I gotta get out of here. Bye for now. See you next time.